On this episode of The Huddle, we're talking Commanders and Bears reactions to Thursday Night Football. Where the heck did that come from? A little more Kelce Swift. We're going to talk MLB playoffs. We got some quick hitting picks and much, much more. Folks, welcome to The Huddle. Thanks so much for tuning in on YouTube or listening on podcast. Andrew Avery here at Chalk_Ninja on Twitter or X. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Tony Farmer, at Tony's Markets Tips on Twitter. Tony, how's it going today on this fine Friday?
It's going good, man. Episode 2. Let's do this. I'm pumped.
Episode 2. I've got another edition of 2-minute trivia for you. I cannot wait to get into that. But more important things at hand here off the top, Tony. We've spent the last couple hours sort of in pre-production mode. Not the ideal way for you to spend your birthday. Happy birthday, Tony. Apologies for all the pre-production nonsense here. How does it feel today? A day older.
It feels good, man. I'm surprised you knew that. I was trying to keep that on the down low. I don't know where you got that information from, but you are correct. It is indeed my birthday.
I know everything, Tony. I know everything. One question I had for you with this being your birthday, do you remember where you were, what game it was, how old you were for your first ever sports betting pick, whether it was football or baseball, basketball? What was your first bet?
Yeah, man, this was elementary school. This was a $10 wager in elementary school, and it was the Cowboys-Bills Super Bowl, and I honestly can't pinpoint which one it was because there was a couple of those, right? And so I guess I would have been 8, 9, or 10-ish, and I remember the wager. I won, and the main thing I remember about it was being surprised the next day that he actually gave me the money. Just being a kid, I'm like, hey, let's bet. And you're not really taking it super seriously. I don't have a bankroll or a spreadsheet or anything like that. And the kid actually came in and paid up the next day. And I remember being like, wow, that was easy. So that was my very, very first bet. How about you, man?
Dude, I have a terrible one. First bet that I remember. Now, I would have had like little, friendly wagers prior to this. But 1999, it is the Cleveland Browns at the New Orleans Saints. I believe it's Tim Couch's rookie year. I had Saints money line. It's 16-14. And at the end of the game, clock on zeros, Tim Couch heaves one up. And Kevin Johnson, I think it was Kevin Johnson, catches it in the end zone. Browns win. One of the great Tim Couch performances. I know he was a first overall pick, I believe, if memory serves me correctly. Didn't have a great NFL career, but that one has stuck with me ever since. And I've been a sucker for punishment ever since as well.
Oh, man, probably like the highlight of Tim Couch's NFL career. And Kevin Johnson, not much came of him. Was he in that same draft class with Couch? Was he a rookie with him, like third round or so? Or am I off on this?
I'm not sure about that, to be honest. It's a good question, but you're right. The highlight of Tim Couch's career post-Kentucky is obviously a bad beat for your boy here. Just unbelievable.
Brutal start. But hey, you turned it around. You didn't let that scare you away. And now you're in the industry. That's awesome.
I needed more. And if anybody was all over the Bears or overs in anything last night, it feels like the Bears. What a performance. The DJ Moore game, I'm going to call it. I didn't bet on the game. I had the Bears +6 in some pick'em pools. But did you have anything last night? And what's your takeaway here from that Thursday Night Football?
Last night, I had the over on DJ Moore's receiving yards, but it was like 50-something. And when you hit a bet like that, you're just mad at yourself that you didn't do more. Oh, man, why didn't I do first touchdown? Why didn't I do 2 touchdowns? Why didn't I do an alt receiving yards prop? But, the writing was on the wall for DJ Moore to have a big game because he was going up against Emmanuel Forbes. He's a rookie cornerback. If you remember last week, Forbes got toasted by Devonta Smith of the Eagles. So that was a big release by a lot of these pick experts that put picks out, the good ones that actually move the lines. So that writing was on the wall for him to have a big day, but not that big of a day. That was really impressive what he did. Manuel Forbes eventually got benched, so we'll see if he's going to be in the lineup going forward. Other interesting things from the game for me, Tevin Jenkins did make a difference on that Bears offensive line. They got their guard back, and while their offensive line didn't have a great performance, they allowed 3 sacks. That was up against a good defensive front, and I think he will be a difference maker going forward for the Bears. The Bears are an interesting team, right? Because they looked terrible for the first couple weeks of the season. Do you remember last year when Justin Fields had that ridiculous game? I believe it was in primetime too against the Patriots, out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
So the Bears are like the team where you may not want to, I don't want to say scary team. Let me take that back. They're a bad team that can every once in a while surprise you and be scary if you're in maybe a survivor pool or you're planning on teasing that game down to 0, etc. So interesting team going forward. Let's see what happens. One of the other things that stood out for me, I'm curious if you saw this. Did you see the play where DJ Moore allegedly stepped out of bounds? I never saw him hit the sideline, and the TV production folks did not do us any favors and show a replay. And the announcers also were like not making a big deal out of it. And there's a lot of people on Twitter today who are making a big deal out of it. So that was kind of ugly look for the NFL, I think.
Yeah, it's the same vibe as the Premier League last week, and footy bettors and footy fans will know what I'm referring to here with the VAR catastrophe in the Tottenham-Liverpool game. Not the same stakes because the Bears obviously dominated that game, but for DJ Moore, I think there was a chance that he could get single-season Bears franchise record receiving yards in that game if he jogs up the sideline there. But I mean, what a game for DJ Moore. And you're right. Like the Bears are not super interesting. They're interesting because in that first half against the Broncos last week, Justin Fields was looking like peak Tom Brady out there. He was like, what was he, 20 of 22 or 23 of 23 or something?
Something like that. Yeah. Yep, it was ridiculous. By the way, congratulations if you have DJ Moore on your fantasy team. You're off to a great start this week.
Okay, with that in mind, I have to. Steve, our editor here, threw this together, and it's based around our dear friend, our good friend Mitch here on the Odd Shark staff here. Steve, roll his pick for Thursday Night Football.
Tonight's Thursday Night Football game is maybe my easiest pick of the year. Easiest pick, and I'm going to be fading Chicago easily.
So, I mean, disaster for Mitch. So confident with the Commanders against the spread in that game. Tough look. And to throw salt in the wound, Tony, Mitch apparently benched DJ Moore.
Oh, what a tough night for Mitch. That is absolutely brutal. Oh, man. It's just a reminder. Nothing's easy in the NFL these days. You know, even this wasn't a double-digit favorite game, but we're even seeing games with double-digit favorites where the favorite goes down or the game's really, really close. So just yet another reminder with parity in the NFL. Be careful with these favorites.
So we'll throw a full pager up here, but here's just a smattering of some of the props that hit. DJ Moore first TD, around 11-1. DJ Moore receiving yards, 54.5 was his number. Sorry, DJ Moore first touchdown, plus 1,100. DJ Moore receiving yards, that cashed in like the first minute, 54.5 yards. Justin Fields, longest completion, over 36.5. That took like 55 seconds. DJ Moore, 2+ TDs, anywhere from 11-1 to 18-1. Herbert, over 48.5 rushing yards. He had 76. Sam Howell, over 239.5 passing yards. He had 330. Logan Thomas, anytime TD, plus 300. Curtis Samuel, anytime TD, plus 220. Cole Kmet, plus 325. And over 3.5 field goals. Just a boon for people, and I mean public bettors, hammering over in full game totals on player props and stuff like that. So a big night for the public there. Bears Commanders thoughts here, Tony. The Bears snap a 14-game losing streak. 2-11-1 ATS, I believe, after a quick count in that 14-game losing streak. So my question to you, what do we make of these two teams? I know you alluded to the Bears. We talked about them a little bit, but Commanders potentially more specifically. I'm a Sam Howell believer. I'm a fan. He was the bright spot for me last night. But what do you make of these teams, and how do we look at both these teams moving forward?
Well, first, I take these Thursday night games with a grain of salt because it's a total different animal with the preparation time and travel time and all that stuff. I actually had the Bears +6 for my Odd Shark free pick of the day yesterday, just thinking that Washington was going to be tired and lethargic because Ron Rivera said his players before going into overtime were gassed. He said that in the press conference, so I'm like, they're gassed. They had an extra overtime period in a grueling division game, and now they got to play on Thursday. So just keep that in mind with Thursday night games. But to answer your question more directly, Washington going forward, I agree. Howell looks good. He's still raw though. He's still made a couple bad throws, but I'm impressed with his poise. How he does, not just in this game, but in his past games as well. When the pressure's on, under a minute left, I really like him in the no huddle. And if I was Washington, Monday morning quarterback, right? But if I was Washington, I would have started him off in the no huddle in that game because that is where he seems to be most comfortable. Is when he doesn't have to think too much and the guys aren't huddling up. So they're a team in that division that I think they're about a 500 team. If I had to guess, that's where Washington's gonna finish up the year. They're gonna surprise you every once in a while, and they're gonna let you down every once in a while, like they clearly did last night.
They got to do something right because now we have Magic Johnson coming out today. What did he say? They have no fire, even though you're right. Sam Howell missed a couple passes, but by and large, he looks pretty good. I'm with you. Poise, like all games this season so far, he's shown a little something. So my question now, if you're building an NFL franchise from the ground up and you have to choose between Fields and Howell to be your guy at QB under center, who are you taking?
Oh, wow. That is a tough one. I think I'm going to be in the minority here, and I'm actually going to take Howell. I'm down on Fields. I really am. And I think that people make a lot of excuses for him in terms of, he just needs more time. The Bears are ruining him. It's the Bears' fault. When I look at film, and I'm not a huge film guy, I don't want to make it sound like I look at film every day, but the little bit that I have from the all 22 coaches' cameras, I'm seeing things and I'm like, Justin, there's a guy wide open right there. What are you doing? So I'm just down on him, and I don't necessarily think, a couple more years and he's going to be okay. Whereas the ceiling for Howell, I can see it. I can see it being high for him because of the things that we mentioned, the poise, the potential that he has, etc.
Just to your question earlier about Kevin Johnson's draft, our guy Steve sent me a quick message here. Same draft. Johnson went in the second round of that draft. I want to talk a little baseball here, Tony. Obviously, we're recording this on a Friday morning. Div round starts tomorrow. We had the wild card round. A bit of a disaster for some teams, but not a disaster for people that like to bet unders in Major League Baseball postseason. We got I think we have a 5-1-2 for the unders so far. Day one was 3-1 for under bettors. Obviously, the Rays, Marlins, and Jays, I think, combined for 4 runs in those 6 games that they played. So my question to you is betting the MLB postseason a bit different than the regular season? And what are those things that baseball bettors should be looking at in the postseason when they're doing their capping?
Yeah, I'd say it's different, and it's not even apples and oranges. It's apples and tow trucks. Like, it's completely different when you're handicapping this. So one, you've got to work the bullpen situation's completely different, right? Like, because these teams' backs are against the wall, you may see, a starter get lifted in the 4th inning of a 1-run game, right? You may see a starter come in out of the bullpen that you weren't expecting. We see that all the time in the playoffs as well. So that is completely different as well. When I'm handicapping baseball, I put more emphasis on power for that reason, right? So you can look at batting average, on base percentage. You can also look at slugging percentage, home run numbers, etc. So in that scenario that I mentioned earlier, 4th inning, starters maybe struggling. Maybe he's given up 2 singles, right? Well, guess what? Now you've got these great relief arms to come in, help him get out of the inning. Those 2 singles didn't hurt you that much. Whereas solo homers, 2-run homers, those are going to do more damage. So when I'm handicapping, I like to put more emphasis on home runs, slugging percentage, and things like that, and a little less emphasis on just singles and batting average in general.
I've got a game one pick here when we get to the pick segment of the show. But is there anything that you're eyeing in the next round for series prices or World Series outright odds? Is there anything that's caught your eye either in that divisional round or World Series?
This is a little chalky, Andrew, but the Braves at plus 310. I mean, I think the Braves get to the World Series, and you're going to be feeling really good about that plus 310 number at that time. Again, they're the favorite on the board. They're lowest odds on the board. So I know people want the sexy picks. They want the 20 to ones, the 30 to ones, and things like that. But I really do see the most value on the Braves here. They're just a great all around team.
Absolutely incredible team. That lineup is ridiculous. They'll have an edge in every position, or most positions, I should say, in their series coming up. We've got the Dodgers at 4-1. We've got the Astros at plus 450. The Orioles a bit too young, I think. I love watching them play ball. Those young guys are great, but plus 625. Rangers 7-1. Phillies are fun, plus 775. Twins 9-1, and then the D-backs rounding out the group at 15-1.
If you had to give me one of those long shots or longer shots, I'd put a little sprinkle on the Phillies around 7-1. I think that's a decent bet. They can get hot. That lineup's really good.
And a great pitching staff. The front end of that staff is really good. And those some of those dudes in the lineup, it's just a softball team. Some of those guys just go up there and mash. Schwarber. Bryce is obviously fun. He had a great postseason last year as well. So many bad beats in the NFL. And it's been a sort of a talking point through 4 weeks. We've seen a couple instances with the Rams. Obviously, the Patrick Mahomes slide on Monday against the Jets. It gets a lot of traction on social media, and a lot of people are screaming rigged or screaming conspiracy theories. But what's your take here? What are your thoughts on A, those reactions, and B, why are we seeing potentially a bit more of this narrative through 4 weeks in this season than potentially in seasons past?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's immaturity, and especially when it comes from bettors who are just kind of bitter that they're losing games. I think it's immaturity. Of course, I don't think the NFL is rigged. I don't think the NFL is scripted. We see a lot of that on social media as well. But the terrible officiating is why those things are out there. I mentioned the DJ Moore thing last night. He didn't step out of bounds. At least I haven't seen a camera angle where he stepped out of bounds, okay? So it's like, if there's a judgment call, like, was that pass interference? Was it not? Well, he had his hand on his shoulder. Did he pull it too hard? That's a judgment call. And you can be like, okay, I disagree with you, ref, but at the end of the day, you're an official, I'm not. When the ref says they see something that didn't happen, then it's like, what's going on? And I think that people go from, well, this doesn't make sense, so how do I make sense of it? Well, there must be a conspiracy, there must be rigged, this official must have money on the game, etc. And I think that's how these things get started. But I do think there is an epidemic of bad officiating in the NFL right now. And maybe our HD TVs make things, and the slow motion replays make things more obvious. I don't feel like it's always been this bad, though. I've been watching football all my life, and I feel like besides that 1 year where we had the replacement officials, remember that? Like, this is these last couple of years are some officiating I've seen. It's terrible. It seems like every week there's a jaw-dropping, head-scratching, how in the world did you throw that flag or not throw that flag?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, full stop. And it's not even just limited to football. When, the microscope is turned to Major League umpires, like behind the plate, a lot of disastrous performances in Major League Baseball. I referred to Tottenham Liverpool earlier in soccer over in the Premier League. And the NBA's issues are well documented as well. With social media and with that instant reaction when somebody does blow a call or something, we see it. It's amplified because of social media. But I want to ask you this. Do you think coaches, players, do you think they know point spread, action on their team in a given week? Do you think they know that? The optics of Mahomes sliding, I know as a football play, you get that first down. The Jets have no timeouts left. You keep that clock going. That's textbook. That's football. But the optics of that, Mahomes getting up, throwing his arms in the air, and people reacting like, "Oh yeah, there's a shot to everybody that had Chiefs minus 9.5." Do you think that staff and the players, do you think they know and are aware of the betting implications there?
If you had asked me 10 years ago, I would say, it's pretty likely that a lot of them don't know, or some of them maybe don't want to know, right? But betting is in your face now. I mean, you put on ESPN, which isn't a betting station, and you're getting betting. So I do think these guys are a lot more aware now. Now, I don't think that played into Mahomes' slide at all. I don't think he was thinking about the point spread at all. I think he was trying to win. Where I think you see a little bit more of this, Andrew, and I'm curious if you agree with me, is in college football, right? You've got these coaches, right? And there's these boosters who are given the college and the universities a lot of money. They know the point spread. They know that they're, need to lose by less than 17 points. And they're sitting in the stands. And I think that's where, if that sort of thing has happened, where coaches are playing to just win the point spread, it's probably happening way more in college than in the NFL.
That's a good point, man, and I never really took that into account. But the boosters, the alumni at a college football program, being in the mix for that as well. Good call out there. I got to get into some hot topics here this week, and we would be remiss if we didn't talk once again. And I apologize about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. We talked about it on the show last week. Sunday Night Football. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce watch. Sunday Night Football, the most watched NBC broadcast since the Super Bowl, 27 million. The Taylor Swift subreddit had a live game thread going on. And last night, I love Al Michaels when he was sort of plugging the next Thursday Night Football. He said, quote, Travis Kelce will be there. God knows who else. Last week, we talked about the over-under for the number of times that she was going to be shown. I set the line at 11.5. I thought that was a pretty good number. 17 times per The Athletic. So the over hits in that one. What do you make of this as we keep going on? And, Travis Kelce on his podcast said the NFL, it's a bit of overkill. And the NFL sort of countered and was like, well, this is a pop culture moment. What do you think of that?
First of all, does Travis Kelce really think it's overkill? That's one of the other things that annoys me about Kelce and Swift is they're trying to we're low key, we don't want people to know about this, but I think they secretly love the attention. So it's funny to me that Travis Kelce, Mr. on 14 different commercials, is not liking the attention of this. He thinks it's overkill. I don't buy it for a second. But what's interesting and equally annoying about this is we're hearing about Taylor Swift even during a Sunday night or a Thursday night game last night, where the Chiefs weren't even playing. I mean, her name came up. The sideline reporters, was Aaron Andrews last night? Whoever the sideline reporter was, she mentioned Taylor Swift at one point. You're right, Al Michaels alluded to it. So this isn't going away anytime soon. The NFL's loving this. The NFL dollar signs, right? They're absolutely loving this, bringing in more of a female audience. This is their dream right now. So this isn't going away anytime soon, unfortunately.
Which institution is bigger, the NFL or Taylor Swift?
Oh, man. Oh, God, how do you measure that, right? Do you measure it in money? Do you measure it in number of fans, etc.? If you measure it in impact, if Travis Kelce or any other NFL player is dating her, I don't think bringing in a ton of NFL fans, right? I think the reverse being true suggests, as I hate to admit it, that in a way Taylor Swift might be bigger than the NFL. Isn't that crazy?
It's my reaction too. My initial reaction is, oh, there's no chance. The NFL is bigger, of course. But when you think about it, global popularity, Taylor Swift is a juggernaut. So yeah, I think it's her, which is crazy for me to say. Now, Tony, with that in mind, it's a perfect segue into this week's Huddle 2-minute trivia. It's Swift trivia, but it's not Taylor Swift. It's Taylor Swift, DeAndre Swift, or Stromile Swift trivia. I've got 10 questions. You've got 2 minutes to answer as many as you can. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, the clock begins now. What is Taylor Swift's most streamed song on Spotify currently?
Shake It Off. Is that even the name of the song?
It's Blank Space. Question 2. Stromile Swift was the second overall pick in the 2000 NBA draft. Where did he play college basketball?
Oh, I'm not going to get that. Pass.
LSU. How many times in his NFL career has DeAndre Swift rushed for 100 yards in a game?
Ooh, boy. 6?
Unbelievable guess. 6 is the correct answer. What is Taylor Swift's middle name?
Oh, every woman's middle name is either like Anne, Marie, or Elizabeth. So I'm going to go with Anne.
The correct answer is Allison. What is Stromile Swift's middle name?
Michael.
Emmanuel. In his freshman year at Georgia, DeAndre Swift was the third on the running back depth chart. Who was ahead of him?
Oh, gosh. Georgia's had so many good running backs over the years. Oh, man, I'm drawing a blank right now. No. I'm curious, though.
Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. Who interrupted Taylor Swift's VMA acceptance speech for Video of the Year in 2009?
Oh, the dude who's, a little eccentric. Why am I forgetting his name right now? Oh, man. I'm forgetting his name right now. Drawing a blank. He's a huge star.
Kanye West.
Kanye West.
We got time. We got time for one more. In 2002, Stromile Swift scored his career-high points in a loss against the Seattle Supersonics. How many points did he get?
38.
Close. 31. I believe you got one correct here with the DeAndre Swift at least 100 yards in a game. Couple games here, Tony, I want your thoughts on. They align with some pretty historical trends here. Lions, they're 10 now at my shop, but they haven't been favored by this much since 2017 versus the Browns. I believe they did cover that one. But what's your take on this spot for the Lions, where you see them now sort of being a respected team week to week? But big spot for them, big number. What do you think about this one?
The Lions are respected. Andrew, might they be the third best team in the NFC? Everybody all year has been saying, and even 49ers, Eagles, who's that third team? It's becoming pretty clear to me right now that the Lions are that third team. I like their offensive line. What I like about taking them minus 10 here, and I'm not going to bet it, but I'll lean that way. What I like about it is that offensive line, they can put games away. When they're up and they're trying to run out the clock, those offensive linemen are bullies, and they can push people around and stop that other team, from coming and getting the backdoor cover on you.
And a beast of a unit against the run on the defensive side of the ball. Number one, I think, in the league at stopping the run. It's crazy to say, but you're probably right. Maybe they are the third best team in that NFC. Second game I want to talk about, the Dolphins, double-digit faves. They've got a big number as well. 3-11 against the spread as a double-digit fave since 1992. What do you make of that spot for the Fish this weekend?
Interesting. And you see they just traded for Chase Claypool as well from the Bears. They're cast off. It's going to be interesting to see how he impacts that locker room, because I'm getting the feeling that Chase Claypool may be a bit of a cancer. You can tell the Steelers didn't want him. The Bears don't even want him in their facility. So I wouldn't have high expectations, but if he can get his act together, he does have a lot of potential on the field, so it'll be interesting to see. I don't think he's going to play this week. He's got to learn the playbook, etc. So getting back to this week's game, Dolphins, Giants, both teams have offensive line struggles. The Giants have perhaps the worst offensive line in the league, and they're banged up. And the Dolphins are going to be without Teron Armstead, who's an incredible left tackle. So I think the way to go on this one, instead of betting one of the sides with that big number, is maybe you take the under in this one, thinking the public's going to be thinking over with the Dolphins because that offense is getting all the headlines. So I might take the over in this one. I haven't bet it yet. The under in this one, excuse me. I haven't bet it yet, though.
Big spot for the Dolphins after the quick little reality check from Josh Allen, who always carves them up, and the Buffalo Bills there last week. One thing we see more and more on Twitter, on TikTok, is people talking about their parlay cards. And I know it's popular. I know that it always gathers momentum and steam on social media when books or, bettors post their parlay cards, whether it's a win or they're one leg off or whatever. But what's your take on parlays? Is it a smart approach to betting for, the average person out there that's looking for something on a Sunday or what have you? Or is it just begging to throw money away? What's your take on parlays?
Yeah, I worry about recreational bettors getting taken advantage of on parlays. When you look at the math behind the parlays, it looks like a good deal. Wow, all I have to put in is this, and I can win this. But what's actually happening is you're getting squeezed. The book is taking more juice the bigger that parlay grows. But as you alluded to, what do we see with the marketing on commercials? They're talking about 8-leg parlays on these DraftKings and FanDuel commercials. Social media, oh my God, look at this lottery winner essentially. He hit a 12-leg parlay. And so that is what is front and center. But what we know when you look at the evidence, like from the gaming commissions from some of these states, the sports books love parlays. It's their bread and butter. It's how they make money. So if parlays are how they make money, that means it's how the public loses money. So I refer to parlays as the junk food of sports betting. Okay in moderation, just like with junk food, right? But there's consequences if they're too big of a part of your betting repertoire, just like there's consequences to junk food if they're too big of a part of your diet, right? So in moderation, parlays are okay. They're fun. They're enjoyable. So if it's a special occasion like today, it's your birthday, wink, wink, or maybe it's the Super Bowl and you just want to have entertainment, parlays are great. But if you're trying to take betting seriously and you're trying to build a bankroll, I don't recommend parlays. And it's why a lot of professional bettors don't bet parlays at all. If you're going to, however, though, there's a couple ways that you can do it and give yourself a little bit of an edge, at least more so compared to a recreational bettor. You can spread these parlays out so the games aren't happening at the same time. Let's say you have a 4-leg parlay. The first 3 legs hit. The fourth one is a standalone game on Monday night. And if it wins, you're going to win $3,000. Well, now you've got some options. You can hedge. You can hedge with a point spread, create yourself a nice little middle. You can choose not to hedge at all, but at least you've got options in that case with that parlay. The other thing to consider is correlated parlays. Great example last night. You can put a script together in your head and you can say, the only way the Bears win that game is if that game goes over, because I know the Bears defense is bad and they're going to give up points. So you correlate those two things together, Bears and the over, and theoretically, these aren't standalone events anymore. Theoretically, if one thing happens, the other thing's more likely to happen as well. And so those correlated parlays are a little smarter way to go about betting parlays.
Yeah, great advice there. But as a fan and connoisseur of junk food and sweets, I do feel a bit personally attacked there. But all joking aside, it's great advice. And the momentum that this kind of stuff picks up because of the perception of, you're right, all I've got to do is a couple bucks on, a 5-leg or whatever. It gains so much steam. Let's get into our picks for the weekend. So huddle up with me here, Tony. What do you got? What's your first bet there from the NFL board for week 5?
I like the Cardinals +3 against the Bengals. I'm fading Joe Burrow. He just doesn't look like himself. We talked about that a little bit last week. Now he's got his top target, T. Higgins. If he plays, he's not going to be 100%. He's got a health issue there. And the Cardinals have been in every game. Even the game against the 49ers last week, they were in that game late. If they get that 2-point conversion, they're only down 3 late in that game. And so they're a feisty team for sure.
Yeah, we talked about them last week. They were sort of your surprise package, and this was my team as sort of a surprise. I'm going to take the Texans +2 against the Falcons. Fraudulent 2-2 team here, the Dirty Birds. I don't know, they beat a poor Panthers team. I don't know what the Packers are, but that was a nice win at the time, but the wheels have sort of fallen off. 13 combined points in their last 2 games. And we talked about it last week, but ahead of schedule here. I love CJ Stroud. This guy is doing amazing things week in, week out. The numbers look good. That pinpoint perfect pass he had to Nico Collins last week. Absolute chef's kiss in that one. I'm sort of all over this team. And Desmond Ridder, on the other hand, he just ain't it, which does suck because I did kind of like this dude at Cincinnati, but tough spot against the Texans defense that is pretty good against the pass. I just think DeMeco Ryans is going to have this team absolutely ready in this spot and get another W here for bettors in week 5.
Houston, the other thing to consider is Atlanta's coming back from London, so they've got a tough travel schedule, so they might be a little lethargic, little jet lagged this week. It'll be interesting to see what their practice schedule is, etc. Chalk favorites have done very well in London, so I'm going to take the Bills to win this game, and I'm going to pair it with your Texans. So give me the Texans +8. Bills now just need to win. 2 teams, 6 points easier.
I'm going to go with Tottenham Luton. I'm going to go over 3 -110 here. We've seen it already through 7 games. A lot of goals in Tottenham games. 5 of 7 league games have had 3 or more, and 4 in a row have had 3 or more. 15.2 unexpected goals for Spurs, 6th highest in the league. This will be Luton's toughest home game to date. They've had 3 so far, which were West Ham, Wolves, and Burnley. Both teams to score has hit in all 3. And Ange ball is inevitable. The new manager there at Tottenham, Ange Postecoglou, he wants to have the ball. They have one of the highest possession numbers in the league against Luton, who has the lowest. They don't want the ball. They want the other team to play with it. But when you give guys like Madison, Son Heung-min, both those fullbacks at Tottenham time on the ball, they're going to create stuff. So over 3 -110. What's your third and final pick there, Tony?
I'm going with the Steelers +4.5. I know their quarterback, Kenny Pickett, is a little bit banged up, but it seems like every time the Steelers and Ravens play, no matter what, it's a close game. It's like a 3-point game, and I think we could see something like that this time around. Steelers are 5-1 straight up against the Ravens in their last 6 games, and again, I think this could be a close one. So give me the Pittsburgh Mike Tomlins +4.5.
Yeah, those AFC North matchups always seem to be close for the most part. I'm going to go MLB. I know we don't know definitively one of the pitchers in this one, but I think we have a good idea. But I'm going to go Astros money line in Game 1 Saturday at home against the Twins. I love the Minnesota Twins fishing vest home run, Selly, but I think we got to brace for the sweep here. Stros are just built for the playoffs. The roster makeup is built for another deep run here. Tuck has been insane this season. Yordan Alvarez coming off September AL Player of the Month. Plus, you get Verlander on the bump for the Stros against potentially Joe Ryan, who's expected to go for the Twins. He was roughed up at Minute Maid earlier this season. 4 innings, 3 walks, 5 earned, couple homers for Bregman and McCormick. I just want to get a little MLB playoff action out there. This game, of course, goes tomorrow on Saturday. So give me the Stros there, -150. What do you make of that one there? Game 1, Twinkies at Astros there.
Well, it's interesting, Andrew. I'm making enemies with the Swifties. You might be making enemies with folks in Minnesota, suggesting there might be a sweep there. I got to agree with you, though, to be serious, because the Astros' recent playoff history, those guys just seem to always come through in the clutch. So give me the guys that have done it before. I'll take the Astros in that series and tonight and next game as well.
Not trying to make enemies with anybody. I love the Twins. Royce Lewis, the front end of that staff is really good. Great stuff there against the Jays, but I think the Stros are just built for it. Follow Tony on Twitter at Tony's Market Tips, or X. I don't know what the kids call it nowadays. I still refer to it as Twitter. I know that's probably weird. Follow us on Twitter at Oddshark, same as Instagram, and on TikTok at Oddshark Betting. Oh, one other thing. I know we talked about the Lions, but our boy Nick Holtz there, he has a video it's a deeper dive on the Lions and against the spread numbers with one player in particular, wink, wink. So go and check that out on our YouTube. Tony, thank you so much. Great job today, but please shut everything down and go ahead and enjoy that birthday.
I appreciate it. And everybody else, enjoy the betting weekend. We got MLB playoffs, NFL, college football. It's going to be a fun one. I love this time of year.
Thanks for watching on YouTube. Thanks for listening on podcast. Tony's right. This is a great weekend for betting. A lot of game ones tomorrow, college football, NFL, of course. This is our dreamland time. Have a great weekend. Good luck with your bets.